Hi, thank you everyone for coming. Happy St. Patrick's Day, a day early. I just want to thank the Friends of the Library because I don't know if they sponsored this one, but they sponsor a lot of music programs, children's programs, so thank you, friends out there, wherever you are. Without further ado, Jeff Snow. And the Historical Society Company.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you all for coming out today, spending your afternoon with me. Thank you. That is an old English tune from the middle of the 1600s. We know it for most of the year as green sleeves. We take it out at Christmas and we strip off the green sleeves words, which most people don't know anyway, and we drop a new set of words up on top of it and we call it, "What Child Is This?" In the musical world, we refer to that as piggybacking a song. When you take a melody and you just kind of drop another set of words up on top of it, you call it something else. And that happens a lot. If you think about we've got a bunch of young ones here, so if you think about the children's song, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, or Bob, Bob, Black Sheep, or Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, that's the same music with different words. But now we're going to see if you really paid attention. Because there's a Beach Boys song that has that same melody, the Bob, Bob, Black Sheep. Think on that one for a while. There is one of the early Beach Boys songs is Bob Bob Black Sheep with the Brian Wilson's words up on top of it. So I ask you to remember the word piggybacking because that's going to come up again as we go through the afternoon together. You will hear the word piggybacking multiple times. But we've been to England, we've visited England, and we are going to visit all of the Celtic lands today. We've been to England, we will do Scotland, Ireland, and Wales. Those are the major Celtic lands, those four. And then we will also pay a short visit to the fifth Celtic land, which is a place that a lot of people don't know about or don't think about or maybe have learned about and forgotten. So I'm gonna let you ruminate on that one as well, and we'll get to it. We'll get to it in good time. Let us get this out of the way right up front. I am a Scot. I am a Scot. You clapping, you're a Scot. Yeah. I am a Scot. My dad was a drummer in a bagpipe band. So when I was born, the music that played in the house were the Scottish folk songs and the bagpipe records and all of that. And that's the music that I learned as a child growing up. And that's just was common and normal for me. So when I became a dad, I raised my 3 boys the way that I was raised, because as a parent, that's what you do. So picture, if you will, us getting ready to go on the family adventure with 3 adolescent boys. And we backed the car out of the garage, it's all packed to the gunnels, you know how cars get packed up with kids. And we're going off for the adventure, and I pop in a cassette tape of bagpipe music, and off we go for 6 hours in the car. I thought that was just normal, that's just what people did. I didn't realize that they really hated it as much as they did. So, years roll by, and 6 years ago now, my birthday comes around. And I went out to the mailbox, and in the mailbox was a small package from one of my sons who now lives in South Carolina. If some of you have children who have moved away, you know what a big deal it is if they remember your birthday in any form, shape, or manner, let alone send you something. Quite often it's like that last-minute text message at 5 minutes of 12 before the date flips over. So I was really excited. I went in the house and I put it on the kitchen counter, and I opened it up ever so carefully. And inside the package was a test kit from Ancestry.com. So I thought about that for a moment, and I called the lad and I said, "Thank you for remembering my birthday. What's your point?" And I got, "Well, Dad, when my brothers and I were young, we had to listen to bagpipe music and folk songs, and it was Scottish this and Scottish that. And now we're going to find out exactly how Scottish you really are." I wasn't the least bit concerned, because I had an uncle back in the days before the internet, when you had to go village to village to village. I had an uncle that did that in Scotland, and he tracked it all the way back to 1490 something. So I knew I was going to be good. I'm very proud to sit here in Foxborough, Massachusetts this afternoon to tell you that I'm 83% Scottish. That is a very big number. And on top of that, those of you who were parents will also know how much fun I got out of calling my son to give him the test results. He still hasn't gotten over that 6 years later. So, let's go to Scotland. And let us go to Scotland in the late 1700s and through the middle of the 1800s, about a 60 or so year period. There's something that we know today as the Highland clearances. The Highland clearances are this, and this is how they came about. Almost all of the land through the middle of Scotland, excluding the 2 coasts, just the middle, was owned by a handful of landowners. They owned massive tracts of land, tens and hundreds of thousands of acres. And they broke those tracts up into smaller parcels of land that they called crofts. The people that lived there were known as crofters. Think sharecroppers here in America. The crofters would have a small piece of land, 5, 10, 20 acres maybe at the most, and they would raise animals or vegetables, or they would do something with the land in order to sustain themselves and their family. And every year they would go back to the landowner and pay him a tax or a fee for the use of the land. That system worked really, really well for hundreds of years. But in the late 1700s, the landowners got together and figured out that if we had one really big piece of land, instead of 10 or 20,000 small pieces of land, we could raise sheep on it, and we could make a lot more money than we're making now. We just have to get rid of the crofters, because they're already out there. So over time, they went to see the crofters, and they asked them to leave, and some did. But many of them stayed. They didn't want to go. So the landowners had to come up with a plan B. And their plan B was to hire the British Army, because the British Army would take any opportunity they had to go after the Scots. So they brought them up and said, "Go get them." And they did. Many of the crofters fought back, and they were killed. Many of the crofters took off, went up through the mountains, up through the highlands, and popped up somewhere else and just started a new life somewhere else. And many of the crofters just gave up. They surrendered. Those that gave up were taken to the coast and put on boats. And those boats came across the ocean. Many of those boats first hit land in what we know today as the maritime provinces in Canada. If you go to Nova Scotia today, you'll find a lot of people of Scottish descent up there. That's how they got there. Some of the boats came across and went up the Cape Fear River into the port of Wilmington, North Carolina. They got off the boat and went up into the Appalachian Mountains. If you go down to the Appalachians today, you will find a lot of people of Scottish descent down there. That's how they got there. And, in a roundabout kind of way, that's how I ended up in Foxborough, Massachusetts this afternoon. My great-great-grandparents came in the Highland Clearances in 1841, and they settled in Connecticut. As with so many things that happen in the Celtic lands, the way that they record and memorialize the event is that somebody writes a song about it. This is a song about the clearances. Hush, hush, time to be sleeping. Hush, hush, dreams come creeping. Dreams of peace and of freedom. Don't cry in your sleep, Bonnie babe. Once our valleys were ringing with the sounds of the children singing. Sheep bleat late in the evening. Shearings lie empty and broken. We stood with heads bowed in prayer while factors laid the cottages bare. The flames, the fires, the clear mountain air. Many were dead by the morning. Where was our proud Highland metal, our men once so feared in battle, stand cowed, huddled like cattle, waiting to be shipped o'er the ocean. No use pleading or praying, now gone, gone, all hopes of staying. Hush, hush, the anchor's awaying. Don't cry in your sleep, Bonnie babe. Hush, hush, time to be sleeping. Hush, hush, dreams come creeping. Dreams of peace and of freedom. Don't cry in your sleep, Bonnie babe. That was a cheery one, wasn't it? We have a tendency to think of Celtic music as the fiddle tunes that roll by at about 200 beats a minute. Or the bang your glass on the bar songs and spill the beer all over your shirt. And that's all good stuff. It's all good stuff. But there's so many stories that don't get told. And so many songs that don't get played. And that's what we're going to do this afternoon. We're going to visit places that are a little bit different than the norm. But I'm going to exercise my right to take a wee detour here, because we have a bunch of young ones here. So I am going to play for you an English children's song. This is an English children's song from around 1600-ish. Back then they didn't write a lot of stuff down, so 1600-ish is really like a 100-year period, somewhere in there. Some of you will know this song and you will think that it's a Burl Ives song. Or you'll think that it's a Peter, Paul, and Mary song. Or pick your old Greenwich Village folk singer from the early 1960s, because they all did this song. And none of them probably know where it came from, but if you chase it back, it's an English children's song. So we're gonna play it for the children. You ready? Oh, the fox went out on a chilly night, prayed for the moon to give him light. He'd many a mile go that night, before he reached the town, oh, town, oh, town, oh. Many a mile to go that night, before he reached the town, oh. He ran till he came to the great big bin. Ducks and the geese were kept therein. He said, a couple of you are gonna grease my chin, before I leave this town, oh, town, oh, town, oh. A couple of you are gonna grease my chin, before I leave this town, oh. He grabbed a gray goose by the neck, threw the little one down his back. He didn't mind their whack, 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 and their legs all dangling down, oh, down, oh, down, oh. He didn't mind their whack, 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 and their legs all dangling down. Old Mother Flipper Flapper jumped out of bed. Out of the window she popped her head. She cried, John, John, the gray goose is gone, and the fox is on the town, oh, town, oh, town, oh. John, John, the gray goose is gone, and the fox is on the town. John, he ran to the top of the hill, blew his horn both loud and shrill, and the fox said, I better flee with my kill, soon be on my trail, oh, trail, oh, trail, oh. Fox said, I better flee with my kill, soon be on my trail. I like when I get to play that one, because it's not that often. Okay. Let us go to Ireland. In 1851. 1851. 1851, Michael Considine was born. Remember that name? Michael Considine was born in a small village at a rise in the road on the top of a hill known as Spancel Hill, Ireland. As Michael was growing up, he realized, as so many other young men did in Ireland back then, that there was no future for him there. They had the potato famine and the poverty and the illness and all of those bad things going on in Ireland. Ireland was pretty much a place that nobody wanted to be in the middle of the 1800s. And Michael Considine realized that if he was going to make something of himself in the world, he was going to need to go someplace else. He needed to get out of there. He came across the ocean. He came into the port of Boston, right up the road, just a bit from here. He spent less than a year in Boston before coming to the conclusion that there were a lot more Irish lads looking for work in Boston than there was work for them, because they were coming over by the hundreds of thousands and the jobs weren't increasing at anywhere near that rate. So he was in America, but if he was going to survive here, he needed to go someplace else. He had heard of the gold rush in California and the prosperity that came with it. So across the country, he went to San Francisco. He settled in San Francisco. Michael Considine spent the rest of his life in San Francisco. And Michael Considine died in San Francisco. In 1873, he was 22 years old when he died. History does not tell us what Michael Considine died from. Back in those days, they didn't write such things down. It was not something they kept a record of. But history does give us this. When Michael Considine was dying, he knew that he was dying. Whatever was taking him progressively, and his death was not sudden nor unexpected. It was just something he knew was coming. And that made him very sad for a couple of reasons. The first and most obvious reason was that he was 22 years old, and he knew that he was going to die, and that would make just about anybody sad, I suppose. But secondly, he knew that he was never going to get back to Ireland. You see, when the immigrants came here in that period of time, it was a measure of their success in America to get enough money and enough resources to go back to Ireland, buy passage back to Ireland, and go see your family. Say to your family, look at me. I got away from this. I went to America. I've been successful. I have the money that I can travel here. And they would always be bringing money and things back for the family to help them get along as well. And Michael knew that he was never going to have that opportunity with his family. That made him sad. Not long before he died, he had a very, very vivid dream one night, very vivid. And in that dream, he went back to Ireland. While he was there in the dream, he did all of the things that he would have done had he been able to go back to Ireland. He visited the house he grew up in, he found his family and his friends. He even found his old girlfriend and checked in on her. It was a very vivid dream, and it was very memorable. When he woke up in the morning, he grabbed a pencil and a piece of paper, and he wrote down the whole dream. He made a whole series of notes based on the dream, wrote it all down. And from there, he took those notes and turned them into a poem. This is the good part. With all that Michael Considine had going on in his shortening life back then, he had the foresight to preserve the poem. And he did that by putting it in an envelope and mailing it back to his nephew back in Ireland. That is the reason that the poem survived all of these years. This is Michael Considine's poem. Last night, as I lay dreaming of pleasant days gone by, my mind was bent on rambling to Erin's Isle I did fly. I stepped aboard a vision and I sailed off with a will till we gladly came to anchor at the cross on Spancel Hill. The 23rd of June, the day before the fair, Erin's sons and daughters, they were all assembled there. The young, the old, the stout and the bold, they came to sport and kill. It's a curious combination at the fair on Spancel Hill. I went to see my old home, as every stone could tell. The old bordering was just the same, the apple trees over the well. I miss my sister Ellen, my brothers Pat and Bill. There only were strange faces at the house on Spancel Hill. I went to see my neighbors, said hear what they might say. The old were getting feeble, the young ones turning gray. I met with Taylor Quigley, brave as ever still. He used to mend my breeches when I lived on Spancel Hill. I took a flying visit to my first and only love. She's pure as any lily, she's gentle as a dove. She threw her arms around me, saying, Michael, I love you still. She's Mac, the ranger's daughter, she's the pride of Spancel Hill. And then I stooped to kiss her, as I did in days of yore. She said, Michael, you're only joking, as you often were before. The cock crew in the morning, he crew both loud and shrill. I awoke in California, far, far from Spancel Hill. I'd hope to see that dear old land once more before I die. May the joyous King of angels his choices blessings spill on that glorious piece of nature, the cross on Spancel Hill. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That one's kind of special. My throat's getting a little bit scratchy. Yeah, it's not going to get better for another week. We move on. Every day I pick this up, and then I look out at the faces looking back at me. And look at about half of them are wondering what it is, and the other half are having some kind of repressed middle school memory. And it really doesn't matter because the look is the same. Let's give it a go and see what happens. If you're familiar with the instrument, you know it's called an auto harp. It's designed to be played with a guitar pick and strummed as a rhythm instrument. That's the way it was invented. That's the way it's been played for 100 years. But I'm a Scot, and that's just a little too easy for me. So we're going to do something a little different with it. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
I love it.
Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? Yeah. And you can do all kinds of things with it. There's not a lot of people that finger pick this thing because it's a bit of a beast to get your hands wrapped around. There are 37 strings.
Wow.
37 strings. And I'll give you the Reader's Digest version of what happens here. If I do this, you've got 37 notes. There they are. Doesn't sound like much. If I push this down and push this down, each one of these buttons that I push down creates a different musical chord. Now it sounds like this. It does that by muting out some of the strings. It stops some of the strings from ringing because when you push the button down, there's a felt that sits on a string and it keeps it from ringing. So if I do this, you can hear the ones that click. Hear that. About half of them ring and about half of them don't ring. And the strings that ring and don't ring are different depending upon which button you push down. That gives me a different palette of notes to work with. It's one of those things that once you learn how to do it, you really don't ever think about it, because if you try to think about it, you can't do it. If you notice when I do it, I never look at my right hand as picking the strings, because there's 37 strings and I'm playing anywhere from 1 to 4 notes at a time. And I'm jumping around and pushing the buttons. And you can't think that fast. It just doesn't work. Maybe you could think that fast, but I couldn't. Let's play one you might know though. Ready? Do you like that one? See if you know this one. You ready? I just told you it could be three different things. Which one is it? You're right. World War II was breaking out over in Europe and over on the west coast of Scotland, in a little village called Campbellton, Scotland, was a man named George McIntyre. George was a piper in the village bagpipe band. Every village in Scotland to this day has their own pipe band. There was George in the early 1940s. But when the war broke out, he did as so many other young men did, and he went off and he joined the British Army. He went to do his part and fight the Great War. He was not in Germany for very long before he was captured. And he was held in a German prisoner of war camp for the rest of the war. He spent his time in captivity playing his bagpipe tunes over and over and over again in his head. It was a way of him staying connected to his music, connected to his instrument, and most likely connected to his sanity because he was in a prisoner of war camp for a couple of years. While he was there, he wrote a bagpipe tune in his head. And he figured out all the chanter fingerings and the drone positions and all that kind of bagpipe stuff. And when he got back to Scotland at the end of the war, he taught it to the boys in the bagpipe band. From there, it took off, and it's become a very popular tune in Scotland with the pipers. If you go to Scotland today and you see the pipe band in a parade or something coming down the street, you might hear this one. It's a very majestic, patriotic tune over there. It's not played a lot in America, and I really don't know why it never caught on over here, but it's a big deal in Scotland. He calls his tune The Hills of Argyll. Scots. let us go to Wales. We have not been to Wales. I think we've done the other 3 major parts of the United Kingdom. Wales is this really cool little place down in the corner of England. It's a lovely little spot, and I'm going to play you a Welsh tune. Some of you may know it by its name. It is called Ash Grove. It's a very pretty Welsh tune. It's a very standard piece of music over there. If I start to play it and you don't know it as Ash Grove, but it sounds familiar to you, it's because it appears in just about any hymnal that you'll ever pick up. It is in there. It's been piggybacked by all these different religions, and they write their own words and pluck it into the hymnal, and there it is. This is Ash Grove. Another Welsh tune. I'm going to play you a Scottish boat song. Scottish boat song. In Scotland, they wrote a lot of songs because they have a lot of islands all surrounding Scotland. And they had boat songs that were written for the boats that went to this island, the boats stopped, and that one. Every island's got its own boat song. The one that is most commonly known is the Sky Boat song. And that song was piggybacked, if you've ever seen Outlander, that song was piggybacked in the song that they sing in the beginning of Outlander. The one song that the girl sings in the beginning of Outlander is the Sky Boat song piggybacked into the Outlander words. I'm not going to play you that one because that's too common. I'm going to play for you the Arran Boat song for the Isle of Arran. But I want to tell you the reason why I'm playing it and why I'm playing it specifically today. About a year ago, I think it was sometime in the last March's run around wherever it was going, I had occasion to spend the night in Foxborough in a hotel somewhere around here, in a hotel. I was getting from place to place, and the hotel was just in the middle of where I was going. I woke up in the middle of the night, about 3 o'clock in the morning, in the hotel in Foxborough, and the Arran Boat song was rolling through my head. I have no idea why. Most people would have said, I thought about that, they said, well, it don't sound good on the harp. And most people would have thought, well, I'll do that tomorrow or next week, or they'll make a note or something. Me, I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I write an arrangement on the auto harp at 3 o'clock in the morning in the hotel in Foxborough, Massachusetts. So it's only fitting that I play it now that I'm back here. This is the Arran Boat song. Okay, you've had some time to think on this. What's the one that I left out, and what's the Celtic land that I left out? Let everybody say it at once. Yes, sir.
France?
No, no.
Wall?
No?
Greenland.
Nice try, though.
Iceland.
Iceland?
Greenland.
No.
Spain.
No, you're thinking too big. Yes, sir.
Ireland.
What the-
Ireland.
Ireland? Yeah, Ireland's a great place, but Ireland's kind of a big island. This is a wee small little island. It's very small. The Isle of Man. Oh yeah, that place, yeah. The Isle of Man is a wee small little place. It's halfway between Ireland and the border of England and Scotland. It sits right in the middle of the Irish Sea. And it's a little tiny little place. It's about 8 miles wide at its widest and 22 or 24 miles north to south. It's kind of a neat little place that most people just ignore, except for me. I went there last year. Last fall I went to the Isle of Man because I wanted to see it. I wanted to see it and I wanted to explore it, and I got to do that. It's really a cool place. It is a British dependency. What that means is, think Australia. In the big picture of the world, Australia is part of the United Kingdom, although they've got their own currency and money and government and all those different things. The Isle of Man is the same way. They are a British dependency. They've got their own language, the Manx language, and they've got their own money, the Manx language, the Manx money, and they've got their own government, the Manx government. Can you see a theme developing here? And that's just what they are. And like Australia, if British just kind of disappeared and never darkened their door again, they'd be just fine with that. The Isle of Man exists because they have become a haven for offshore banking. So they have a lot of money there, but you never know it to go there. It's, in some ways, it's a wee bit like stepping back into a simpler time. I was staying in the southern part of the Isle of Man, but they have pretty decent transportation. And if you want to get from the southern part of the Isle of Man to the northern part of the Isle of Man, the way that you do that is with a steam-powered locomotive, coal-powered. So you get on the train and the guy shovels the coal in and off you go. It's just the way that it used to be. And when you get to the northern part, if you want to go up into the mountains, up into the highlands of the Isle of Man, they don't take that up there, the steam-powered train, because we learned a long time ago that's not a good idea. We learned that in America back in the early 1900s when the trains were crashing. They have an electric-powered train. So you get off the steam-powered train, you get on the electric-powered train with the wires overhead, and you chug your way up the mountain as best you can. Well, the cool part about that is when you get up near the top, if you look way over to the next peak over there, you see a little dot, because it's pretty far away. And that little dot is the house where the Bee Gees were born. You didn't see that one coming, did you? Barry, Robin, and Maurice Gibb, the three that became the Bee Gees, were all born in the house on the Isle of Man. Yeah. And they've always called the Isle of Man their home. Whenever they were doing interviews or whatever, they always said the Isle of Man was their home. They did not live there for a very long time at first. Specifically because their father was always one step in front of the sheriff. So they lived up on the mountain, but when the sheriff found them up on the mountain, he moved down towards this bigger town. And you know, the Isle of Man's kind of a small place, and there's not a lot of people, and there's not a lot of places to hide. So if the sheriff's looking for you, he's going to find you eventually. So they moved to England, and they moved around England for a while, and then they moved to Australia. And that's where the boys really started to become singers. We're talking about at 7 and 8 and 9 years old, they became the same singers. They were singing for money in Australia at that age. And then they worked their way backwards through the chain and ended up back on the Isle of Man eventually. But it's very cool, and they've always called that place their home. So, and one of the things that the Isle of Man hangs its hat on is the Bee Gees. So I was there, a bunch of us were there, we were kind of bouncing around, and we found ourselves in the village of Peel, P-E-E-L. Peel is on the west coast of the Isle of Man. It is a seaport city. It's where the fishing boats go in and out of. And it was a Sunday afternoon, and we were over there, and the fishing boats were going in and out, and it was raining quite hard, and we weren't going to stand there and watch that for very long. So we went into the Isle of Man Maritime Museum, which was probably 3 times the size of this room, maybe. Not very big. But we went in there, we were the only folks in there, and we were looking at all the exhibits and all that. And the lady that was working there, she came over, engaged us in conversation. She was very nice. Wanted to know where we were from and what we did. And when she learned about the music connection, she said, "Have you seen the statue for the Bee Gees yet?" We said, "No, we did not." So she told us where it was. And then she whispered something in my ear as we walked away, which made me laugh out loud, I think. Over on the East Coast, remember, it's only a few miles east and west there. We got over to the East Coast. On the East Coast is the town of Douglas. That is their major, they call it a city. We would call it a nice-sized town. But it's right on the coast, and it's been there forever. And they have a promenade, just like you expect a promenade to be in the old days. A big wide street with the hotels lining the thing for like 2 miles with the big front porches where you can sit on the porch and look out over the promenade. And on the promenade, they have horse-drawn carriages that will take you up and down from one end to the other. And on the other side of that, we're moving towards the ocean. There's the parks, and there's parks and fountains and flowers and all of this, and you have the ocean. It's just lovely, it's gorgeous. And smack dab in the middle of the promenade is an 8-foot-high statue of the Bee Gees. Yeah. It's big, it's 8 feet high, and I know that because I stood next to it. And it's 8 feet tall, and their back is to the water, and they're looking out over the city or the town of Douglas. And it's really very, very cool. So the thing that the lady whispered in my ear was, when you get to the statue, when you find it, make sure you go around to the ocean side, the back side of the Bee Gees, and look at the back side of the statue. And then she whispered in my ear the secret, which made me smile. Picture a statue that's made out of bronze, and it's been sitting 50 feet from the ocean for I don't know how many years, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's pretty banged up and tarnished and green and spots and all of that. You would expect it to be that way. Except when you walk around the back. If you walk around the back and you start looking up at the Bee Gees' head, it's tarnished and banged and green and tarnished and banged and green. And then you get down to what we would politely call the bottom of the Bee Gees, and it's polished just like grandma's silver. It is bright and shiny. She told me about this, and she gave me the reason why. She said, when the women go to have their picture with the Bee Gees, they put their arms around them, and they do this while they're having their picture taken. And it kind of wipes off all the tarnish and all the gunk off the statue. And I have no idea if that's true, but I'm guessing that it is because it's all polished back there, and it wasn't from me, so it must have been from somebody else. So that brought me home from the Isle of Man with a great story with no music to play for the story. So I did my homework. The Isle of Man does not have a national anthem. That kind of place, that's not something they're going to spend any time or effort on. They really don't care. But they have an unofficial national anthem that they will sing at different events when they have to sing something that presents itself as patriotic. The song is called Ellen Vannin, E-L-L-A-N, V-A-N-N-I-N, Ellen Vannin. And Ellen Vannin is the Manx language words for Isle of Man. This song is very pretty, and I urge you, if you would, to at some point go to YouTube and look for Robin Gibbs singing the Isle of Man song, Ellen Vannin, with the British choir. It will bring tears to your eyes. It is really that pretty. So this is Ellen Vannin. a special instrument. And it's been very good to me, and it's taken me to, the ability to do that has taken me to a lot of different places in the world, in the country, and that's good, I suppose. My promise to you is that I will pick it up and play it for you again before we're done today. Just because the most recent adventure that I had with that was just 3 weeks ago. And I'll share it with you just quickly. 1961, there was a group called the Highwaymen. Some of you are nodding to the Highwaymen. Michael rowed the boat ashore. Yep, the Highwaymen. They were in college at the time. And their front man, the guy that sang the song, was a man named Stephen Trott. And he played the auto harp as a rhythm instrument, because it was in the folk groups back then. Michael rowed the boat ashore was like the #1 song in the whole world for a while. And they were getting ready to get out of college and go off, and we were going to set the world on fire, and along came the Beatles, and that was the end of that. 3 weeks ago, I was invited to go to Stephen Trott's home. He is still alive. He lives in Claremont, California. And we played the auto harp together. And we sang Michael Rowed the Boat Ashore together. And he's 86 years old, but he still got it. He still got most of it. It was really very, very cool. He found me. He found me on the internet somewhere. And I made sure when they were doing all the photography stuff that I positioned myself so that his gold record was behind me. Michael Rowed the Boat Ashore. Because I figured that was the only time I'm ever going to get that close to a gold record in my life was there. So, the auto harp has given me all kinds of memorable adventures, and that is just one of them. Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? Yeah. So, we move on. In the 1700s and the 1800s, when the merchant ships would leave various ports in the United Kingdom, different lands, to deliver their wares around the world, they could be gone for upwards of 7 years. 7 years. That sounds like a very long time, doesn't it? Because you're thinking about it today. Think about it in the context of the time. You're over in Dublin, and you've got a load of something that was made in Ireland that needs to go to Boston. So they pack it all onto the ship, and the ship now is riding very low in the water, and off you go. You're coming across the North Atlantic Ocean, into the wind, into the current, riding low in the water. It's going to take you several months to get to Boston under those circumstances. And when you get there, you're going to have to sit in the outer harbor and wait for your spot at a dock. And when your turn comes, you pull up to the dock and you unload whatever's on the boat, one box or barrel at a time. There were no gantries or cranes or forklifts, or there was none of that. It was just everybody grabs a box and walks it off the ship. So that takes a long time. And then you're not going to leave Boston empty, because that wouldn't be productive. So you go back to the outer harbor, you drop your anchor again, and you sit there and you wait for a load going out of Boston. When you finally get to the dock, they load your ship, and you're going wherever that load is going, and it's probably not Dublin. Just think about it. So you're going where that load is going. If you do that a handful of times, you can be gone for several years before you get back to where you started. It's just the way that it was. So, I tell you that to tell you that we're going to do a song about an English sailor. His name is John Riley. Fair young maid in her garden, strange young man came riding by, said, fair young maid, will you marry me? This then, sir, was her reply. No, kind sir, I cannot marry thee. I've a love, he sails a deep salt sea. He's been gone 7 years, still no man shall marry me. And he said to her, what if he's died or in a battle slain? What if he's drowned in the deep salt sea? What if he's found another love? He and his new love both married me. I will die when the moon doth wane. If he's drowned in the deep salt sea, I will be true to his memory. He picked her up in his arms, kisses gave her 1, 2, and 3. Weep no more, my own true love, I am your love, lost John Wiley. Weep no more, my own true love, I am your love, lost John Wiley. You're thinking that was going to be another sad song, weren't you? Surprise. Okay. You may not believe this, but you've been sitting for an hour. Just about an hour. Yeah. Doesn't seem that long, does it? No. We're not done. We're not anywhere near done, but you've been waiting for this particular moment, I know, since you sat in these chairs. Because this is the part where you're going to sing for me. You're going to sing for me. I'm just going to get stoned. People don't get out of your coats. You don't need to run. I'm just going to give you a small little few words, part of a chorus of a song. You'll be able to do this. Very simple. I want to tell you the backstory first. I told you a little bit about my dad in the beginning, the drummer in the bagpipe band. My dad's name was Donald, a very noble Scottish name. A lot of Scots are named Donald. I don't know why, but they are. But he had a very good friend who was also a Scot and coincidentally also named Donald. Just like birds of a feather flock together. They were both in the same bagpipe band, I guess. And when I was a lad growing up, they would come to the house and they would put the Scottish folk songs on and the bagpipe records, and they would march around the house and sing the songs and do all that, and they'd be marching right along in lockstep with their friend Johnny Walker. And they would, whenever I do that, I know who knows Johnny. And this one song, when it got played, I knew that it was just going to go over and over and over and over again. It's a song about a man named Donald. And they were absolutely convinced that this song had something to do with them, and it didn't, because it was written a long, long time before them. But that didn't stop them from thinking it was written for them. This Donald in the song lived upon the Isle of Skye, which is off the northwest coast of Scotland. And this is many, 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 many years ago. He decided that he was going to leave Skye, and he wanted to go on vacation to London. He wanted to see London, and that was very odd because back then, Scots just didn't go to England, but he was going to go anyway. He didn't care. So off he went to London, wearing his kilt. And that created quite a stir in England with the women because they had never seen a man wearing a kilt before. They had no idea what that really was. They expected, because the men, the English men had seen the Scottish warriors fighting in kilts. So at least they were aware of the concept, but the women had never seen such a thing. They expected the Scottish men would wear trousers like the English men wore trousers. Well, he didn't. He wore a kilt. So he went back, and when he got back and told his story, somebody writes a song about it. This is a song about Donald and his kilt and his lack of trousers. And you're going to help me sing the song. Very simple. I will sing to you the first line of the chorus. First line of the chorus is mine. And then you will sing back to me the second line of the chorus, which is yours. Easy enough? So this is mine. The first line of the chorus is mine. I will sing to you, let the wind blow high. Would you like to share with us what you're finding so funny? You should just be glad I'm not wearing my kilt right now. And you will sing back to me, let the wind blow low. Let the wind blow low. It's very simple. It goes just like this. Let the wind blow high, let the wind blow low. Ready? Let the wind blow high.
Let the wind blow low.
A little louder. Let the wind blow high.
Let the wind blow
Perfect.
low.
Through the streets in my kilt I'll go. All the lassies shout, hello, Donald, where's your trousers? I just come down from the Isle of Skye. I'm no very big and I'm awful shy. Lassies shout when I go by, Donald, where's your trousers? let the wind blow high.
Wind blow low.
The streets in my kilt dog go. All the lassies shout, hello, Donald, where's your trousers? Well, I went down to London town and I had some fun in the underground. Ladies turned their heads around, saying, Donald, where are your trousers? Let the wind blow high.
Wind blow low.
The streets in my kilt dog go. All the lassies shout, hello, Donald, where's your trousers? Well, the lassie took me to a ball. It was slippery in the hall, and I was afraid that I might fall, because I wasn't wearing me trousers. Let the wind blow high.
Wind blow low.
The streets in my kilt dog go. All the lassies shout, hello, Donald, where's your trousers? Well, the lassies want me, everyone. Let them catch me if they can. You cannot put the bleaks on a Highland man, cause they won't wear no trousers. Let the wind blow high.
Wind blow low.
The streets in my kilt dog go. All the lassies shout, hello, Donald, where's your trousers? Let the wind blow high.
Wind blow low.
The streets in my kilt dog go. All the lassies shout, hello, Donald, where's your trousers? Anybody can play Danny Boy. Find somebody else that can do that. That was really good. That was so good. Hmm? Please.
I said we're going to be signed up for something else.
Yes, yes, yeah. You're going to do another sing-along, of course. Think of it as a reward. You did so well, we're going to reward you with another sing-along. We'll do an Irish sing-along now. And because you did so good with that little tiny little piece of the chorus, I'm going to give you the whole chorus of this one, the whole thing. So, okay, you can do this. So this is your part. You ready? Mary Mac's father's making Mary Mac marry me. My father's making me Mary Mac. I'm gonna marry Mary for my Mary to take care of me. We'll always feel Mary when I marry Mary Mac. That's your part. I've got the rest. No, huh? Okay. I will do Mary Mac's father's making Mary Mac marry me. You will sing back to me, nice and loud. My father's making me marry Mary Mac. My father's making me marry Mary Mac. You are not looking the least bit confident. Let's give it a go and see what happens. Mary Mac's father's making Mary Mac marry me. My father's making me marry Mary Mac. Ready? Mary Mac's father's making Mary Mac marry me.
My father's making me marry Mac.
It's not bad. I'm gonna marry Mary to take care of me. We'll always feel Mary when I marry Mary Mac. Well, there is a little lass and her name is Mary Mac. Make no mistake, she's a girl I want to attack. And a lot of other fellas try to get up on her track. I'm thinking that I'd have to get up early. Mary Mac's father's making Mary Mac marry me.
My father's.
Making me marry Mac.
That might be the first time I've ever done that and nobody even tried. I just hit that chord and I wait for the response and it's like dead silence in the room. Mary Mac's father's making Mary Mac marry me. My father's making me marry Mary Mac. I'm gonna marry Mary for my Mary to take care of me. Will always feel Mary when I marry Mary Mac. We're gonna keep going. I'm not stopping. Well, this little lass, she's got a lot of class. She's got a lot of brass and her father thinks I'm gas. I'd be a silly ass if I let the matter pass. Her father says we teach it really fairly. Here comes Mary Mac's father making Mary Mac marry me.
My father's making me marry Mac.
That was good. I'm gonna marry Mary for my Mary to take care of me. Will always feel Mary when I marry Mary Mac. Thank you for leading us through that. Little Mary and her mother go an awful lot together. In fact, you hardly ever see the one without the other. And all the people wonder if it's Mary or her mother, or the both of them together that are important. Mary Mac's father's making Mary Mac marry me.
My father's marry me Mary Mac.
I'm gonna marry Mary for my Mary to take care of me. Will always feel Mary. Let's do this. Let's take a detour. I think you need the rest. Let's do it. Let's do an old sea shanty. You might even know this one. You ready? What do you do with a drunken sailor? What do you do with a drunken sailor? What do you do with a drunken sailor? in the morning. Way hey, up she rises. Way hey, up she rises. Way hey, up she rises early in the morning. Shaves his belly with a rusty razor. Shaves his belly with a rusty razor. Shaves his belly with a rusty razor early in the morning. Way hey, up she rises. Way hey, up she rises. Way hey, up she rises early in the morning. You know what's really funny and really interesting? Me, and probably many of you, learned this song in about 4th grade. They were teaching it in schools when we were children. Can you imagine trying to get this song past the school committee today? Put him in the cabin with the captain's daughter. Put him in the cabin with the captain's daughter. Put him in the cabin with the captain's daughter early in the morning. Way hey, up she rises. Way hey, up she rises. Way hey, up she rises early in the morning. Mary Mac's father's making Mary Mac marry me. I surrender.
We surrender.
Sometimes you're just going to stop and hang up the instrument. That was one of those times. Woo. Are you having fun this afternoon?
Yes.
Thank you. Well, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming out today.
Thank you for coming.
Oh, you know, you need to remember how I got here. Your library and your friends of your library, they make things like this possible. You know, because as much as I'd like you to think that I just kind of randomly wandered in here, for me to show up on the day before St. Patrick's Day, this was done a long, long time ago with Abby, the director. I mean, that's just the way it is. And so I'm here. And but there's also a check involved. And you know, so you have to support the library, support the friends, and so they can keep doing things like this. What shall we do next? The benefit of working without a set list is you can play whatever you want. So I'm going to play this one. So, it's pretty cool. This is another children's song. A lot of things that we know as old Celtic things began as children's songs, and because you know, America's just a couple hundred years old, but they're like far older than us over there. This song goes back to the 1600s or so. And if you think back that far, there wasn't much going on in America in the 1600s. This one is from England. It's a children's song. It is called The Elfin Knight. E-L-F-I-N-K-N-I-G-H-T. Elfin Knight, loosely translated to the language of today, means small male child, wee little lad, young boy, something along those lines. The Elfin Knight. What?
Scarborough's mayor.
Yeah. We can't fool you, can we? Beginning to wish you sat in the back, aren't you? Yeah. I told you I was going to play the Elfin Knight, and then you heard me play Scarborough Fair. No, you didn't. You heard me play the Elfin Knight. The song that you know as Scarborough Fair began in the 1600s as the Elfin Knight. Folk songs morph and change as they go through time. So think about how it works. You know, you're in a village somewhere in England and you're singing a song called The Elfin Knight, and the minstrel that wanders around goes from village to village, walked in, and you teach him the song. And he goes off to the next village and he tries to teach it to them, and he plays the part he remembers, and he kind of makes up some of the rest because they didn't write anything down and nothing was recorded. So by the time you do this for a few hundred years, the song's changed a lot. Everybody's gotten their hands on it. Somewhere around 1900, they stopped calling it the Elfin Knight and they started calling it Scarborough Fair over in England. There is a Wikipedia page for the Elfin Knight. You can go to Wikipedia, just type in Elfin Knight, and you will find the original words from the 1600s. They're there. And as you read through the words, you'll find enough to know that the songs are connected somehow. This is not a coincidence. It's not close, it's not even remotely close, but there's enough pieces that survived 400 years that it works. As soon as I started to play that little guitar bit in the beginning, pretty much everybody in the room had their radar go off and think Scarborough Fair, because that's a very identifiable guitar riff that was not written by Paul Simon. That riff and the arrangement of Scarborough Fair that you know was written in 1948 by an English folk singer named Martin Carty. Martin Carty is still alive, and he's still touring. He's like 90-something years old, but he's still trying to do it. But when Paul Simon graduated from high school, he was 18 years old, and he didn't go to college. He wanted to be a folk singer. So he went to London, and he wanted to learn how to do it, and he thought that was the place where he could really hone his chops over there. So he went to London, and while he was there, he hooked up with Martin Carty, and they did a tour of England together. Two guys traveled together. And Martin Carty taught him the song You Know It's Scarborough Fair, and taught him the guitar part. Paul Simon came back to America with that song in his head. He wrote the second part, which is called a canticle. It's like a call and answer type thing. And then he recorded it, and he made, I don't know, gazillions of dollars, I suppose, on that song, which is good for him. Sadly and unfortunately, he has yet to compensate Martin Carty for writing the original arrangement, but maybe someday he will get around to that. So it's just kind of a very sad story. So I can't do anything about that, but I can share the story when I travel. So I do that because that's just the way it works. In any event, go back to Ireland. 1855, young man named John Hunt leaves his family home in Ireland, and he comes to the United States. He settles in Aberdeen, Maryland, which is just a little bit north of Baltimore, Maryland. He gets married, he has a job, he has kids, he's all the things, a house, he has all the life things. He does all those things there in Aberdeen, Maryland. He spends the rest of his life in Aberdeen, Maryland. John Hunt died in Aberdeen, Maryland. John Hunt is buried in Aberdeen, Maryland. As I tell you the story and play for you the song that goes with it, please keep in mind that when John Hunt came here in 1855, he was 13 years old. Let us put that one in perspective for just a moment. And let us think about a 13-year-old child or a 13-year-old grandchild or 13-year-old niece or nephew, or just a 13-year-old kid who's living down the street. Leaving home, going to a country where they don't know anybody. He knew nobody in America, and he had absolutely no idea what he was going to do when he got here. He just knew that if he was going to survive at 13, he had to get out of Ireland and come to America, and he could figure out the rest later, and he did. His story is just one of hundreds of thousands. That's the way it was. Never went back, never saw his family. Back in Ireland was his family. And John Hunt's father, Brian, could neither read nor write. But every year he would go next door, because living next door was the schoolmaster in their little village. And every year he would dictate to the schoolmaster a letter to John. And that letter would include all the comings and goings of the family. Who got married, who had kids, who bought a house, all the kinds of things that we do today instantly with a text message. They did once a year with the annual family letter. That was the way they communicated back then. And every letter included a request for John to come back and see them again. And he never did. Very sad. Skip forward to about 1973. And a man named Peter Jones is cleaning out a house in Aberdeen, Maryland. And in that house, he finds a stack of old papers. Those papers are the letters that had been written to John Hunt 100 years earlier. There's 22, I think, in that series of letters. Peter Jones took those letters and he laid them all out and he figured out how to put them together chronologically so that they fit. And he turned them into something that we know today as the Ballad of Kilkelly, Ireland, the story of the Hunt family. Kilkelly, Ireland, 1860, my dear and loving son John. Your good friend, the schoolmaster Pat McNamara, so good to write these words down. Your brothers have all gone to find work in England. The house is so empty and sad. The crop of potatoes is sorely infected, a third to a half of them bad. Your sister Bridget and Patrick O'Donnell are going to be married in June. Your mother says not to work on the railroad. Be sure and come on home soon. Kilkelly, Ireland, 1870, my dear and loving son John. Hello to your missus, to your 4 children, may they grow healthy and strong. Our Michael has got in a wee bit of trouble. I don't think that he'll ever learn. Because of the dampness, there's no turf to speak of. We have nothing to burn. Bridget is happy and named the child for her, you know, she's got 6 of her own. You say you found work, you don't say what kind. When are you coming home? Kilkelly, Ireland, 1880, Michael and John, my son. I'm sorry to give you the very sad news. Your mother's passed on. We buried her down at the church in Kilkelly. Your brothers and Bridget were there. You don't have to worry. She died very quickly. Remember her in your prayers. It's so good to hear that Michael's returning with money he's sure to buy land. The crop has been poor and the people are selling at any price that they can. Kilkelly, Ireland, 1890, my dear and loving son John. I suppose that I must be close on to 80. 30 years you've been gone. Because of all of the money you sent me, I'm still living out on my own. Michael has built himself a fine house. Bridget's daughters are grown. Thank you for sending your family picture. They're lovely young women and men. Why don't you think about coming to visit? A joy to see you again. Kilkelly, Ireland, 1892. My dear brother John. I'm sorry I didn't write sooner to tell you. Father is gone. He was living with Bridget. She said he was cheerful, healthy right up to the end. You should have seen him play with the grandchildren of Pat McNamara, your friend. We buried him alongside of Mother down at the Kilkelly churchyard. He was a strong and a feisty old man, considering his life was so hard. It's funny the way he kept talking about you. He called for you at the end. Why don't you think about coming to visit? We'd all like to see you again. That one is extra special. That one is extra special, and that one, over the decades that I've been playing it, has attached itself to me in many, many ways, and it's one that it gets played every day wherever I am, whatever I'm doing. I play that song and tell that story, and I always will. It's one that's become important to me, and I want to share one of those reasons with you tonight. About 17 years ago, I had the opportunity to see the letters and transcribe the letters. A bit of a challenge because the paper is 100 years old and it was yellowed and smudged and folded and faded and all those things. But I got most of it. And I tell you that to share with you this. In the back of the room on the table, there's some cards with my picture on them. On the back of the card is a whole bunch of information, but the thing that's pertinent here is my website address is on that card. If you go to my website, you will find the transcriptions of the first and last letters on the page for Kilkelly, Ireland. There's a page on my website just for Kilkelly, Ireland, and you'll find the first and last ones there so that you can read the letters and get a sense of how it goes. If that fires off your interest and you want to read all of the letters, there's also a little internet button click thing on that page. If you click that, it should pop up an email window, all addressed to me. All you need to do is fill it in with your information, tell me that you met me in Foxborough, and my gift to you for coming and my thanks to you for coming will be to send you a PDF file of all 22 letters, and you may have them all. I was given access to the letters for the purpose of sharing them. So, I'm happy to do it, and I've sent them out. I couldn't even begin to imagine how many times. I know that I've sent them to all the corners of the world by now, and that's okay. But I want to share one of those stories with you. 7 years ago, one afternoon, I got an email from a man who lives just outside of Atlantic City, New Jersey, a little town in the bottom corner of New Jersey. And he had Googled Kilkelly letters and found me and found that he could get the letters and would I send him the file. Of course I did. He got right back to me. Remember the part of the song? There was a brother Michael, and Michael went off and got in trouble, and he came back and got a house and straightened himself out. This man in New Jersey is Michael Hunt's great-grandson. Yeah, wow. The Hunt family knew about the song. They knew that the song was based on some letters. They did not know that the letters existed in any form. I was able to give the Hunt family the letters and, give them their family history, basically. And he was able to tell me all kinds of things, like the story that I told you in the beginning about John Hunt coming to America at 13 and not knowing anybody and not knowing what he was going to do. That came from him. That's their family lore. And if it's good enough for the Hunt family, it's certainly good enough for me. So, if you have any interest at all, that opportunity is there for you. I've played it, as I've told you, in all kinds of situations. And I have played it in rooms packed to the walls with Irish grandmothers. Every day when I play that song, I look up and I watch the emotion building in the room. And that's a good thing. That means that I'm telling the story well and you're getting it, and there's a lot of emotion in the song. But when you play it in a room full of Irish grandmothers, the emotion goes to a place that I can't even, not even the top of the Bee Gees' head, it's up above. It's just crazy up there. So I will share something that I have learned about Irish grandmothers over my years of doing this that you might find interesting. An Irish grandmother can hide an entire box of Kleenex on her person. You know somebody like that, don't you? I will start playing the song, and somewhere around the third verse, I'll look up, and they'll be down here, and they'll be up the sleeve, and they'll be passing it back and forth, and it's okay. That's what's supposed to happen. The songs and the stories are supposed to get you on some level. So, again, if you have any interest at all, you'll know how to find me. I'll be happy to send you the letters. It has been an honor and a privilege for me to come here this afternoon and to play for you and tell you my stories. Thank you for spending your afternoon with me. It's a special time for me as it is for you. I promised you that I would come back to this, and I will. And I will be around afterwards if you want to have any questions or you just want to say hi. I will be here for a bit. I will finish us off today with the song that gets played last. Anywhere in the world, when the Scottish musicians get together, we always play the same thing last. I have absolutely no idea at all why we do it, but we do. It's sung in the end of the year in America, and it's based on a Robert Burns poem. So that should help a couple of you. Thank you for coming today. Be well. What?
The Beach Boys song.
No.
I didn't tell
Oh, I didn't tell you.
Get the answer.
Okay, so think back to the early days of the Beach Boys, the very, very beginning of the Beach Boys. The first album that was recorded, Brian Wilson put an a cappella song. And he did that because Beach Boys started singing in brothers in their bedroom in California. And that's how they got started singing harmonies together. And he wanted to keep that thing going, so he wrote an a cappella thing for them to put on the first 3 albums. I think it's on the second album, but I'm not sure.